Commander Vazix of the Galactic Federation's 12th Reconnaissance Fleet hovered nervously above his command console. His translucent tentacles quivered with anxiety as he watched the holographic display showing the approach to the Sol system. "Status report," he demanded, his voice crackling through his breathing apparatus. Lieutenant Graza, a reptilian saurian with iridescent scales, looked up from her station. "All ships maintaining formation, Commander. We will reach the outer defense perimeter of Earth in approximately 7 galactic units." "And still no response to our communications?" Vazix asked, already knowing the answer. "None, sir. The humans are either ignoring us or—" Graza's voice trailed off. "Or what, Lieutenant?" Vazix snapped. "Or they're planning something." Graza's forked tongue flicked out briefly. "These humans, they're unpredictable." Vazix released a bubbling sound from his respiratory sacs, the Aquarian equivalent of a snort. "Unpredictable is putting it mildly. They're Deathworlders, Lieutenant. Their entire evolutionary history is just one long sequence of narrowly avoiding extinction." The bridge fell silent. Everyone present knew the stories. Earth, classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, is a planet so dangerous that most species would perish within minutes of setting foot on its surface. Crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, toxic atmosphere, lethal radiation levels, and aggressive microorganisms that could devour alien tissue in hours. And then there were the humans themselves. "Sir," called out Tactical Officer Pelver, a bulbous-headed Mentari whose species communicated partially through color changes on their skin. Pelver's skin was currently flashing warning patterns of orange and red. "We're detecting unusual activity near Mars." "Define unusual, Officer Pelver," Vazix said, his tentacles curling tightly around his command staff, energy signatures consistent with. Pelver's skin blanched to a pale yellow. "Sir, it appears to be a human training facility." A collective gasp rippled through the bridge crew. "A training facility?" Vazix moved closer to the tactical display. "You mean they're conducting military exercises right in the path of our approach?" "Affirmative, Commander," Pelver said. "And if these readings are correct, it's not their main military. It's a cadet training center." Vazix felt his primary heart stop briefly before his secondary one kicked in. "They've sent their younglings to intercept a battle fleet." "Are they insane, sir?" Lieutenant Graza interjected. "Perhaps we should reconsider this mission. The High Council's intelligence on humans might be flawed." Vazix waved a dismissive tentacle. "Nonsense. The High Council has studied humans for decades. Yes, they're dangerous, but they're just another primitive species that needs to be properly incorporated into the Galactic Federation. Their resources are too valuable to leave in the hands of such an unpredictable species." "But sir," Graza persisted, her scales darkening with concern, "there are the incidents with the Krull Dominion and the Vex Consortium to consider." Vazix's eye stalks narrowed. Those were exaggerated reports. The Krull were incompetent, and the Vex were technologically inferior. "We are the 12th Reconnaissance Fleet of the Galactic Federation. We have conquered 87 planetary systems. These humans will learn their place." Just then, Communications Officer Trill Can, a spindly arachnid with compound eyes that reflected the blue glow of his console, chittered excitedly. "Commander, incoming transmission from the human facility." On screen, Vazix ordered, straightening to his full height of nearly 2 meters, an impressive stature for an Aquarian. The holographic display flickered before revealing the face of a human. It appeared to be a female, with short auburn hair and dark eyes that seemed to pierce right through the screen. She wore what Vazix recognized as a training uniform, with insignia indicating she was merely a student officer. "This is Cadet Captain Morgan Reeves of the Earth Defense Force Training Facility Ares 7, the human said, her voice unnervingly calm. "You are entering restricted space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Vazix puffed himself up, his chromatophores flashing with the traditional colors of dominance display. "I am Commander Vazix of the Galactic Federation's 12th Reconnaissance Fleet. We come on behalf of the High Council to negotiate Earth's surrender and integration into our benevolent collective." There was a pause, and then the human did something unexpected. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh or an uncertain one, a genuine laugh of amusement. "I'm sorry," Cadet Captain Reeves said, wiping a tear from her eye. "It's just, you're serious, aren't you? You actually came here expecting us to surrender?" Vazix felt his chromatophores involuntarily flash with confusion. "This is no laughing matter, human. We have a fleet of 30 warships armed with quantum disruptors and plasma cannons. Your training facility stands no chance against our might." The human cadet said, appearing to consider this. She looked off screen for a moment, presumably consulting with someone. When she turned back, she was smiling. "Tell you what, Commander Vazix. Since this is a training facility and my cadets need the practice, how about we turn this into a little exercise?" "Exercise?" Vazix repeated, his tentacles twitching with irritation. "You fail to grasp the gravity of your situation, human." "Oh, I grasp it perfectly," she replied, still smiling. "You have 30 warships. We have 42 first-year cadets who haven't even finished their basic training yet. Seems fair." Lieutenant Grazza leaned toward Vazix. "Sir, the human appears to be mocking us." "I am aware, Lieutenant," Vazix hissed. He addressed the human again. "Your bravado is misplaced, Cadet Captain. Submit now, or face the consequences." The human's smile widened. "How about this? We'll give you 1 hour to reconsider your position. Beebzen. Then moo. After that, we're going to proceed with our training exercise. Whether you're a participant or not is up to you." Before Vazix could respond, the transmission cut off. The audacity. Vazix thundered, his tentacles lashing about in fury. "They send children to mock us." "Sir," Tactical Officer Pelver interrupted, his skin now a worried purple. "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the human facility. They appear to be powering up something." "What kind of weapon?" Vazix demanded. "That's just it, sir. These readings don't match any known human weapons in our database. They're different." Vazix turned to his strategic advisor, a crystalline entity named Jorv who had remained silent until now. "Advisor Jorv, your assessment?" The crystalline being's facets glimmered as it processed the data. "The humans are known for their unconventional tactics, Commander. It is possible this is a bluff. It is equally possible they have developed new technology we are not familiar with. I recommend caution." "Caution?" Vazix scoffed. "Against untrained humans? Preposterous." "Oh, Commander," Lieutenant Grazza said hesitantly, "perhaps we should consult the historical records of human conflict before proceeding." "I am well aware of human history, Lieutenant," Vazix retorted. "Primitive tribal conflicts and resource wars, nothing that prepared them for modern space warfare." "Yet, with respect, sir," Grazza continued, "I was referring specifically to their more recent conflicts with other spacefaring races." Vazix waved a dismissive tentacle. "Exaggerated tales meant to frighten gullible species into giving humans a wide berth. The High Council has determined they are ripe for conquest, sir." Pelver's voice was now urgent, his skin flashing alarm patterns. "The energy readings from the human facility have spiked. They're deploying something." The main viewport shifted to show a small fleet of vessels emerging from the Mars facility. They were sleek, angular craft unlike any human ships Vazix had seen in the intelligence briefings. "What are those?" he demanded. "Unknown, Commander," Pelver replied. "They do not match any known human military vessel in our database." "Magnify," Vazix ordered. The image zoomed in to reveal the lead vessel. To Vazix's astonishment, emblazoned on its hull were the words Cadet Training Vessel Alpha 1. "They're sending training vessels against us?" Vazix couldn't believe what he was seeing. This is either supreme arrogance or they know something we don't. Advisor Jorv finished for him. Another transmission came through. Cadet Captain Reeves appeared again, now wearing a flight helmet. "Commander Vazix, since you haven't left yet, I'm assuming you've decided to participate in our exercise. Just to be sporting, we'll only use our training vessels, first-year cadets only, as promised." Vazix was about to respond when she continued. "Oh, and one more thing. We've invited some observers. Hope you don't mind." The transmission widened to show a group of aliens standing behind her. Vazix felt his blood run cold. He recognized representatives from the Kral Dominion and the Vex Consortium, both species that had supposedly attempted to conquer Earth in the past. What is the meaning of this? Vazix demanded. A Kral warrior stepped forward, his battle-scarred carapace telling of countless conflicts. Commander Vazix, I am General K-Rax of the Kral Dominion. I strongly advise you to withdraw your fleet immediately. The Kral do not retreat from battle, Vazix said, confused. Your species is known throughout the galaxy for your warrior code. Yes, General K-Rax agreed, which is why you should heed my warning. 3 cycles ago, we brought our most elite legion to this system. Only I and a handful of others survived to tell the tale. And we faced merely a small contingent of their border patrol. A Vex representative stepped forward next, their gelatinous form pulsating with agitation. The Vex Consortium lost an entire armada to a human mining colony that was armed with nothing more than industrial equipment. These creatures, they are not like us, Commander Vazix. Vazix's eye stalks swiveled between the aliens and the human cadet, who was now leaning against a console, casually examining her fingernails. This is some kind of trick, Vazix declared, though his confidence was wavering. No trick, Commander, Cadet Captain Reeves said. It's just a training exercise. My cadets need to practice first contact scenarios, and you've provided a perfect opportunity. She checked something on her wrist device. Mengdo. Oh, looks like our hour is up. Exercise commencing in 3, 2, 1. The small fleet of human training vessels suddenly accelerated toward Vazix's much larger warships at speeds that shouldn't have been possible for craft of their size. Evasive maneuvers, Vazix shouted, but it was too late. The human vessels weren't firing weapons. Instead, they were executing complex flight patterns around the Federation ships, moving in ways that defied conventional physics. Sir, they're scanning us, Pelver reported, his skin now a confused mixture of colors. Deep scanning our ships, our weapons, our life support systems. Jam their scanners, Vazix ordered. I can't, sir. They're using some kind of quantum interference pattern we've never seen before. Our jamming systems are useless. On the view screen, Cadet Captain Reeves smiled. Impressive, isn't it? That's Cadet Jenkins flying Alpha 3. She only started flight training 2 weeks ago. She's a natural. Vazix watched in horror as one of the human training vessels performed an impossible maneuver, somehow phasing partially through one of his destroyer's shields without triggering the defense systems. How are they doing this? He whispered. Sir, Lieutenant Graza said, her voice trembling, I've analyzed their flight patterns. They're not just scanning us. They're mapping every weakness in our defenses. In minutes, they'll have a complete tactical analysis of our entire fleet. That's correct, Lieutenant, Cadet Captain Reeves said, apparently overhearing the conversation. It's a standard first contact procedure for us. Always know what you're dealing with before making any moves. She paused. By the way, your port-side quantum disruptor array has a synchronization issue. Might want to get that looked at. Vazix felt a cold dread wash over him. You can see that? Yes, of course. So can all my cadets now. They've transmitted the complete schematics of your ships to everyone in our training squadron. Standard protocol. Another voice came over the communication system. Another human cadet, presumably. Captain Reeves, we've completed the tactical assessment. Their shields operate on a triphasic oscillation that's vulnerable to our training torpedoes' harmonic frequencies. We could disable their entire fleet without causing casualties. Very good, Cadet Mitchell, Reeves replied. Make a note of that in your report. She turned her attention back to Vazix. You see, Commander, this is why these training exercises are so valuable. They give our cadets hands-on experience. Vazix's mind was racing. The humans weren't just confident, they were toying with his fleet, and if these were merely cadets in training vessels, what would their actual military be capable of? As if reading his thoughts, Cadet Captain Reeves added, I should mention that our actual defense fleet is currently conducting exercises in the Jupiter system. Admiral Zhao was quite interested when I informed her about your arrival. She's asked if she can bring the First Fleet over to observe our training exercise as well. Would that be all right with you, Commander? The mention of the human First Fleet sent a wave of panic through Vazix's command crew. Even the Galactic Federation's intelligence reports spoke of the Earth Defense Force's First Fleet with cautious respect. Sir, Lieutenant Graza urged, we should withdraw. Now, Advisor Jorv's crystalline form pulsed with agreement. The lieutenant is correct, Commander. Continuing this encounter would be unwise. Vazix looked at the tactical display. The human training vessels had now completely surrounded his fleet, having mapped every weakness and vulnerability in a matter of minutes. And they had done so without firing a single shot. Vazix struggled to find the words. This is not how conquest is supposed to proceed. Conquest? Cadet Captain Reeves laughed again. Oh, Commander Vazix, nobody conquers Earth. Didn't you get the memo? The last 3 species that tried ended up joining our trade alliance and sending their young to our universities. General K. Rax here has a daughter studying xenobiology at Harvard. The crawled general nodded. She is top of her class. At that moment, Tactical Officer Pelver let out a startled cry. Commander. Multiple warp signatures detected approaching from the Jupiter system. The First Fleet. Vazix whispered. Decision time, Commander. Cadet Captain Reeves said, her tone suddenly serious. You can either be part of our training exercise, which, I should warn you, involves my cadets practicing how to disable and board hostile vessels, or you can turn around, go home, and tell the Galactic Federation that Earth is open to peaceful diplomatic relations but not to threats. Vazix looked at his command crew, seeing the fear in their expressions. He looked at the humans' training vessels that had so easily outmaneuvered his warships, and he looked at the rapidly approaching signatures of Earth's First Fleet. Sometimes, Vazix reflected, the truly intelligent decision was knowing when to retreat. He began, his voice unsteady. We will withdraw, and I will convey your message to the High Council. Cadet Captain Reeves nodded. Wise choice, Commander. We'll escort you safely back to the edge of our system. As Vazix gave the order for his fleet to turn around, Lieutenant Graza approached his command station. Sir, she said quietly, how will we explain this to the High Council? Vazix watched as the human training vessels took up formation around his retreating warships, providing an escort that was clearly more of a guard detail. The truth, Lieutenant, he replied. We will tell them the truth, that on Earth, even their children are more formidable than our most experienced warriors. As his fleet began its ignominious retreat, Commander Vazix couldn't help but notice Cadet Captain Reeves giving him a friendly wave from her view screen. Better luck next time, Commander, she called out cheerfully. And if you're ever interested in actual diplomacy, we have some fantastic exchange programs for military officers. The application deadline for next semester is coming up soon. Vazix switched off the communication in embarrassed silence, already dreading his report to the High Council. One thing was certain. The Galactic Federation would need to seriously reconsider its assessment of the humans. After all, if their untrained cadets could force the surrender of an entire battle fleet without firing a shot, what else were these Deathworlders capable of? 3 galactic months later, Commander Vazix stood before the High Council of the Galactic Federation, his tentacles nearly rigid with anxiety. The Great Chamber, with its soaring crystalline arches and gravity-defying architecture, was designed to intimidate, and today it succeeded brilliantly. So, let me understand this correctly, Commander, said High Counselor Zelith, an ancient luminar whose bioluminescent body pulsed with barely contained fury. You approached the human system with 30 warships, and you retreated because of cadets. Vazix's respiratory sacs expanded and contracted rapidly. High Counselor, if I may elaborate on the situation. Please do, interrupted Counselor Dreth, a massive geomancer whose rocky hide showed the cracks of extreme age. Explain how the legendary 12th Reconnaissance Fleet was turned away by human younglings playing with training vessels. The chamber, filled with representatives from over 200 species, buzzed with murmurs and translated whispers. Vazix felt his chromatophores burning with humiliation. The humans, he began carefully, are not as we have been led to believe. Their capabilities far exceed our intelligence reports. The cadets we encountered demonstrated technology that could neutralize our fleet without firing a single shot. Preposterous, bellowed Counselor Ixali, a pyroclast whose body temperature rose visibly with his temper. Our intelligence division has studied humans for decades. They are primitive Deathworlders who only achieved faster than light travel less than a century ago. Vazix gestured to the holographic display beside him. With respect, Counselor, I have brought evidence. The scans taken by my ship clearly show the human training vessels utilizing phase shift technology that our scientists believe to be theoretically impossible. The chamber fell silent as the holographic display showed a small human vessel partially phasing through the shields of a Federation destroyer. This is concerning, admitted High Counselor Zillith after a long pause, but it does not excuse your failure to carry out your mission, Commander. There's more, Vazix said, his voice gaining strength as he remembered the terror of that day. The cadets were able to completely map our ship's vulnerabilities in minutes. They identified a synchronization flaw in our quantum disruptors that even our engineers weren't aware of. Another murmur rippled through the chamber. And you believe these were truly just cadets? Asked Counselor Yugzara, a telepathic avian whose feathered crest twitched with skepticism. Not some elaborate ruse to make their forces appear stronger than they are? I considered that possibility, Vazix replied. But the presence of representatives from the Kral Dominion and Vex Consortium confirmed my suspicions. Both races attempted conquest of human territory in recent years. Both were defeated. And both now maintain diplomatic relations with Earth. A new voice rang out from the observation gallery. The commander speaks the truth. All eyes turned to see a Kral warrior in full ceremonial armor making his way down to the chamber floor. The High Council guards moved to intercept him, but High Counselor Zillith waved them back. General K. Rax of the Kral Dominion, Zillith acknowledged, your presence here is unexpected. The Kral general's battle-scarred carapace gleamed under the chamber lights. I come as an observer and, if the council permits, as a witness. Zillith exchanged glances with the other counselors before nodding. Proceed, General. K. Rax took position beside Vazix. 3 years ago, I led the Kral's most elite legion against a human outpost on one of their colony worlds. We expected an easy victory. Instead, we encountered an enemy unlike any we had faced before. The general's compound eyes swept across the chamber. Humans do not fight like other species. They do not follow conventional tactics. When faced with superior firepower, they do not surrender, they improvise. When outnumbered, they do not retreat, they adapt. And when backed into a corner, they become the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The Kral are not known for exaggeration in matters of war, Counselor Dreth noted, yet your account strains credibility, General. I lost 8,000 of my finest warriors in a single day, K. Rax replied, his voice devoid of emotion. The humans we faced were not soldiers but colonists, farmers, engineers, teachers. They turned mining equipment into weapons. They transformed atmospheric processors into area denial systems. They used agricultural fertilizers to create explosives that could penetrate our heaviest armor. The council chamber was completely silent now. And when it was over, K. Rax continued, when my surviving warriors and I were surrounded and expecting execution, do you know what the humans did? The general paused, his gaze moving from counselor to counselor. They offered us medical attention. They treated our wounded alongside their own. And then they invited us to peace talks. K. Rax's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Today, the Kral Dominion is one of Earth's strongest trading partners. My daughter studies at their finest university, and I serve as military attached to their diplomatic corps. High Counselor Zillith's bioluminescence dimmed thoughtfully. This is not the image of humans our intelligence has painted. Your intelligence is outdated, came another voice from the gallery. A gelatinous Vex representative oozed their way down to the chamber floor. I am Ambassador P. Loon of the Vex Consortium. We too once underestimated the humans. That mistake cost us an entire armada. Vazix felt a strange sense of vindication as the Vex Ambassador joined him and General K. Rax. The Federation's approach to humans has been fundamentally flawed, Ambassador P. Loon continued. their translucent body rippling with emphasis. You classify them as Deathworlders and assume this makes them primitive. In reality, it makes them extraordinary. Explain, demanded Counselor Ixali. Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill them at every turn. P-Loon said. Extreme gravity, wild temperature fluctuations, devastating weather, aggressive predators, microscopic pathogens. Earth is a crucible that forged a species unlike any other. Where most species evolved to fit into their environment, humans evolved to conquer theirs. The ambassador's body shifted colors as they spoke, a sign of intense emotion among the Vex. And now they've taken that same adaptability to the stars. The cadets Commander Vazix encountered? Those were children by human standards. Yet they commanded technology that our scientists can barely comprehend. And what would you have us do with this information? High Counselor Zilith asked, leaning forward. Abandon our plans for expansion into human territory? I would advise opening diplomatic channels instead, Ambassador P-Loon replied. The humans are eager to establish peaceful relations with other species. They're particularly interested in cultural and scientific exchange. General K. Rax nodded in agreement. The Krall have benefited greatly from human medical technology. In return, we've shared our expertise in gravitational engineering, and the Vex Consortium now hosts human artists and musicians throughout our systems, added P-Loon. Their creativity is refreshing. Vazix, emboldened by the support, addressed the Council directly. High Counselors, I believe attempting to conquer the humans would be a catastrophic mistake. Not because we would necessarily lose, though I believe we would, but because we would be passing up an opportunity for a valuable alliance. High Counselor Zilith conferred quietly with the other counselors for several minutes before addressing the chamber again. This council requires time to evaluate this new information. Commander Vazix, you are relieved of duty pending a full investigation into this matter. Vazix's tentacles drooped slightly, but he had expected nothing less. However, Zilith continued, given the testimony we've heard today, I am authorizing the formation of a diplomatic delegation to open formal communications with Earth. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. Counselor Uzara will lead this delegation, Zilith announced. Commander Vazix, despite your failure to complete your assigned mission, your first-hand experience with humans makes you valuable to this endeavor. You will accompany the delegation as an advisor. Vazix felt a surge of relief flood through his system. It wasn't a complete exoneration, but it was better than the court-martial he had been expecting. Delegation preparations will begin immediately, Zilith declared. This council is adjourned. As the chamber began to empty, General K. Rax approached Vazix. That went better than expected, the Krall observed. Thanks in large part to your intervention, Vazix replied. I am in your debt, General. Consider it repayment for sparing your fleet, K. Rax said, his mandibles clicking with amusement. The humans would have allowed my warriors to participate in their training exercise if you had chosen to fight. My people enjoy battle, but not hopeless ones. Will you be joining the diplomatic delegation? Vazix asked. Again, no, K. Rax replied. I must return to Earth. I'm scheduled to give a guest lecture at their Space Warfare Academy next week. But I've taken the liberty of arranging a guide for your delegation. Before Vazix could ask what the general meant, a human figure stepped forward from the gallery. Vazix's eye stalks widened in recognition. Cadet Captain Reeves, he said, his voice a mixture of surprise and dismay. This outlet to die. It's Lieutenant Reeves now. Actually, the human said with a familiar smile. I graduated early. Turns out, successfully preventing an interspecies war gets you some extra credit. Vazix's chromatophores flashed with embarrassment. You've been promoted because of our encounter, among other things, Reeves replied. Earth's diplomatic corps thought I might be helpful in facilitating first contact with the Galactic Federation. General K. Rax agreed. The Krall general nodded. Lieutenant Reeves has a talent for creative problem-solving, a trait highly valued among humans and one that has proved useful in past diplomatic endeavors. Vazix looked between the human and the Krall, suddenly understanding. This was planned from the beginning, wasn't it? Your cadets intercepting our fleet, the representatives from previously hostile species being present. Lieutenant Reeves shrugged. Let's just say we have a comprehensive first contact protocol. When our long-range sensors detected your fleet, we had several options available. She smiled. I'm glad we went with the non-violent one. As am I, Vazix admitted. Though my pride may never recover. Pride is overrated, Reeves said dismissively. Peace is much more valuable in the long run. Ambassador P. Loon joined their small group, The Human Speaks Wisdom. The Vex Consortium once prided itself on its military might. Now we take greater pride in our cultural achievements and scientific advancements, many of which have been enhanced through collaboration with humans. And how do humans benefit from these alliances? Vazix asked. Genuinely curious, we're explorers at heart, Lieutenant Reeves explained. Every new species we meet has something unique to offer: art, technology, perspectives, stories. The universe is too big and too amazing to waste time conquering it, yet you maintain a formidable military, Vazix pointed out. We've learned that lesson the hard way, Reeves admitted, her expression sobering. Peace is always our preference, but we're prepared for alternatives. General K. Rax made a sound that might have been a laugh. The humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. It has taken the Crawl some time to appreciate the wisdom in this approach. Now, Lieutenant Reeves said, clapping her hands together, let's talk about your upcoming diplomatic mission. I've been authorized to extend an invitation for your delegation to visit our solar system. We thought you might like to see our actual military installations this time, rather than just a cadet training facility. That would be educational, Vazix replied cautiously. Don't worry, Reeves assured him with a grin. We'll keep the scary stuff to a minimum. Oh, and fair warning, Admiral Zhao has requested a meeting with you specifically. She was quite impressed by your decision to withdraw rather than risk your fleet. She was impressed that I retreated? Vazix asked, confused. Of course, Reeves replied. It takes courage to make the right decision when it isn't the easy one. That's something we value highly. As they walked toward the chamber exit, Lieutenant Reeves continued explaining the proposed itinerary for the diplomatic mission. Vazix listened with half attention, his mind still processing everything that had happened. 3 months ago, he had approached the human system expecting an easy conquest. Now he was preparing to return as part of a peace delegation, guided by the very human who had outmaneuvered him. Lieutenant Reeves, he said, interrupting her description of Earth's diplomatic reception protocols, there's something I don't understand. Just one thing? She asked with a laugh. I'm impressed. Beck, your cadets, Vazix clarified. If they were truly just trainees, how were they able to so easily neutralize the threat posed by my fleet? Reeves considered the question for a moment. Have you ever heard of the human concept of outside-the-box thinking? I am not familiar with this phrase, Vazix admitted. It means approaching problems from unexpected angles, she explained. It's not being constrained by conventional wisdom or established procedures. Our cadets excel at it because they haven't yet been told what's impossible. And the phase shift technology? Vazix pressed. Our scientists believed such technology was merely theoretical. Funny story about that, Reeves said with a smile. That was actually developed by a 16-year-old for a science competition last year. She got the idea from an old science fiction show. Vazix's eye stalks quivered in disbelief. A juvenile human created technology that our most brilliant minds could only theorize about. She won first place, Reeves said proudly. She's in my advanced tactical class now. Brilliant kid, but terrible at hand-to-hand combat. We're working on it. Beja. As they reached the transportation hub outside the council chamber, Lieutenant Reeves turned to face Vazix directly. Commander, I'm going to give you some advice that might help with your diplomatic mission. Stop thinking of humans as Deathworlders, or warriors, or even as potential allies. Start thinking of us as what we truly are. Problem solvers. Problem solvers. Vazix repeated, turning the concept over in his mind. Exactly. Evolution on Earth didn't just make us strong or resilient, it made us creative. When faced with a challenge, we don't just use the tools we have, we invent new ones. We don't just follow the rules of engagement, we rewrite them. General K. Rax, who had been listening silently, added, "This is what makes humans both dangerous enemies and valuable friends." The Crawl learned this lesson through blood. The Federation has a chance to learn it through diplomacy. A transport vessel was waiting to take the Crawl general back to his ship. As he prepared to board, he turned to Vazix one last time. "Commander, heed the humans' words. I have seen what happens when their problem-solving is directed toward warfare. It is not something I would wish upon the Federation." With that ominous statement hanging in the air, the general departed, leaving Vazix alone with Lieutenant Reeves and Ambassador P. Loon. "He always was one for dramatic exits," Reeves said with a chuckle. "But he's not wrong. We're much better as friends than enemies." "I'm beginning to understand that," Vazix admitted. "Good," Reeves said, suddenly all business. "Because I've been authorized to offer the Galactic Federation something that might interest your council." "And what would that be?" Vazix asked cautiously. "Access to our educational system," she replied. "We're willing to accept students from Federation worlds at our universities and military academies, cultural exchange programs, scientific collaborations, the works." Ambassador P. Loon's gelatinous form rippled with excitement. "The Vex Consortium has benefited greatly from such exchanges. Our scientists who have studied with humans return with unusual perspectives. The High Council would indeed find such an offer intriguing," Vazix said slowly. "But what would humans want in return?" Reeves smiled. "Access to the stars, Commander. Your Federation has explored far more of the galaxy than we have. Awful like we want star charts, xenobiology data, cultural histories, knowledge, essentially. Not technology? Not weapons?" Vazix was puzzled. "We're pretty good at developing those on our own," Reeves said with a wink. "But there are some things you can't invent. You have to discover them. The stories of different species, the beauty of worlds we've never seen, the wisdom accumulated over millennia by civilizations older than our own." For the first time since meeting humans, Vazix felt he was beginning to truly understand them. They weren't just Deathworlders with surprising capabilities. They were a species driven by curiosity, by an insatiable desire to learn and grow. "Lieutenant Reeves," he said finally, "I believe the Federation and humanity may have more in common than I initially thought." "That's usually how it works," she replied with a smile. "Once you get past the tentacles and the weird breathing apparatuses, people are just people." As they boarded the transport that would take them to the diplomatic vessel, Vazix reflected on how completely his understanding of humans had changed in such a short time. What had begun as a mission of conquest had transformed into an opportunity for peace. What he had seen as a humiliating defeat now seemed like the luckiest escape of his career. And the human cadets who had so easily outmaneuvered his fleet. Perhaps they had taught the Galactic Federation its most valuable lesson yet, that in a universe full of diverse life forms, cooperation would always achieve more than conquest. As if reading his thoughts, Lieutenant Reeves nudged him with her elbow, a human gesture of camaraderie that Vazix was still getting used to. "You know, Commander, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Vazix's chromatophores shifted to a calm blue, the Aquarian equivalent of agreement. For once, he found himself in complete accord with a human. Perhaps there was hope for interspecies relations after all. "By the way," Reeves added as the transport doors closed, "wait until you meet our actual military. The cadets you saw. They're going to be so jealous they missed the diplomatic tour, especially when they hear about the live fire demonstrations we have planned." But Vazix's chromatophores briefly flashed with alarm before he realized the human was joking. "Probably.